Why can't we pick our own colors?
No way, no way. Tried it once, it doesn't work. You get four guys all fighting over who's going to be Mr. Black. But they don't know each other, so nobody wants to back down. No way. I pick. You're Mr. Pink. Be thankful you're not Mr. Yellow.
Yeah, but Mr. Brown, that's a little too close to Mr. Shit.
Mr. Pink sounds like Mr. Pussy. How about if I'm Mr. Purple? I mean, that sounds good to me. I'll be Mr. Purple.
You're not Mr. Purple. Some guy on some other job is Mr. Purple. You're Mr. Pink.
Who cares what your name is?
Yeah, that's easy for you to say. You're Mr. White. You have a cool-sounding name. All right, look, if it's no big deal to be Mr. Pink, you want to trade?
Hey, nobody's trading with anybody. This ain't a goddamn fucking city council meeting, you know.
All right. When we last left you, we just got done wrapping up True Romance. Now, I can't remember, did Reservoir Dogs come out first?
Yes.
Okay. So he took the money he got from True Romance. With True Romance being a big blockbuster, they took their time making it. So that's why True Romance came out later, and then Reservoir Dogs.
Reservoir Dogs was released in something like 1992, whereas True Romance came out in 93, like about a year later.
Yeah, so I think that's what pretty much what happened. And obviously True Romance being a big Hollywood production probably take longer during post-production and all that kind of stuff, where this is certainly a much smaller production than True Romance. But man, does he have a cast.
Yes.
So, yeah, so if you don't know it yet, we're talking Reservoir Dogs. I was introduced to this on Laserdisc. I got this and Lethal Weapon 3 on Laserdisc one day. And, the rest is history. I think I saw it after True Romance. But keep in mind, a lot of people didn't know Tarantino wrote True Romance until Tarantino became Tarantino.
I became such a big name.
Yeah, because a lot of people thought it was just a Hollywood, action film. Where once Pulp Fiction hit the market and Jackie Brown, he started, hitting at all turrets, firing at all turrets. Then they started promoting it as a Tarantino production.
Yes.
With Tony Scott as the director. So, but he had to start somewhere, and this is where he started, was the 1992 Reservoir Dogs. Pretty big hit. Massive hit soundtrack.
Yeah, but see, apparently it wasn't a very big hit in cinemas in America, but it was huge in the UK.
It got a very independent release.
Yes.
In the States, they have these small city theaters. Lake Street had an independent theater. It was independent. It didn't go in,
like the QFT in Belfast.
Yeah, it didn't go to major markets. It made its money. And we talk about cult films a lot. I don't think this is really a cult film. I think this was a hit right out the gate because it still made its money back. And man, did this word of mouth got around.
Yes,
really quickly, and how good this film is. And like I mentioned a second ago, the soundtrack catapulted it.
I think I watched Pulp Fiction first. I got it out on video at the time, and then being blown away by Pulp Fiction, I then went straight down and then got Reservoir Dogs. I would have been maybe around 18 or so whenever I watched both of them.
I remember getting Pulp Fiction on Laserdisc. I got the Japanese bootleg.
Yeah.
And they had subtitles at the bottom, but I had it when it was still in theaters.
Mm-hmm.
So everyone came over to watch Pulp Fiction on Laserdisc. And then we watched, obviously, Reservoir Dogs first. So it was always this big event. We're going to Ciaran's to see, Tarantino night.
Yes.
God, those are the days. 95, late 94. Late 94, I think is where that was. But we're going to jump into this one. We got some stuff to talk about. And the one thing about Tarantino is that he's loyal. And what I mean by loyal, we always see Samuel Jackson, Christopher Walken. He'll always pepper in, or he'll keep key actors in all of his films.
Michael Madsen, Tim Roth.
Yeah, and this one is obviously the birth of that, starting with Tim Roth, Michael Madsen, Harvey Keitel, Chris Penn, Steve Buscemi, Lawrence Tierney, and then the other guys, Mr. Blue, Mr. Brown, Holiday and
apparently
Marvin Nash.
Lawrence, we'll probably come to it, but apparently Lawrence Tierney was an absolute nightmare on the set of this.
He looks like he'd be.
Yeah.
Like he said, like Tim Roth says to his buddy Holiday, he's
Like
like
the
Thing.
But apparently he refused to remember his lines, but behaved aggressively towards all these younger actors. And apparently at one point Tarantino and him there came to blows, and Tarantino sacked him. Then after the dust settled a bit, Tierney went home and was actually arrested after getting drunk and shooting up his flat. He was then bailed on the condition that he could go back and work on this film.
Jesus.
Apparently he's a mad bastard, but he was one of the last sort of real Hollywood tough guys. But apparently, that's all good and well. We us sort of laughing at it, but apparently the work with him was an absolute nightmare. To be fair to Tierney, by the sounds of it, there were serious alcohol issues there. But so who am I to judge? Type thing. But at the same time, apparently, very difficult man to work with.
I was watching this, and I mean, finally, someone like Harvey Keitel gets his due. He was the lead in Mean Streets, Scorsese's first film, but De Niro kind of, came to light in that film as well.
Overshadowed him.
Exactly, and then Taxi Driver, where he played the pimp, and obviously De Niro. He always played the other guy, and he was a background actor. He was a character actor almost.
Supporting actor almost, yeah.
Yeah, but I think it's this film that catapulted him, because then we got him as the great scene, the cleaner in Pulp Fiction.
Mr. Wolf.
We got him as Bad Lieutenant.
Yes.
He found his niche, and I think this is the film that did it. Because even though all these characters are scumbags, he is the most likable.
Yeah, there's a sort of honor amongst thieves attitude to him. Old school almost,
I think his character has the best arc. We talk about arcs a lot.
Yes.
And Tarantino, when you watch a Tarantino film, every person is a scumbag or a villain, but there's a likability to them no matter how evil they are. And that's just the way Tarantino works. I mean, we even saw it in True Romance with Drexel.
Yep.
We like Gary Oldman. We love the Christopher Walken, Dennis Hopper sequence. He does. He just knows there's no redeeming quality in most of his characters.
I would say the only one here would be Mr. Orange. The only hero of sorts,
Yeah, but even he kind of taints that a bit when he shoots. Well, let's dive into it. This broke out Steve Buscemi as well. Actually, this film broke out quite Tim Roth, Michael Madsen, Steve Buscemi. We talked Michael Madsen, we did War Games, but at the end of the day, these three actors, Steve Buscemi, Tim Roth, and Michael Madsen, were no names. They might have done some stuff here or there, but this is the movie that put them on the map, hence moving forward. But Tim Roth's always been a Tarantino guy, but Tim Roth kind of went on to play bad guys. God, he plays a good bad guy.
Yes.
Rob Roy, he was such a good bad guy in that one.
The Burton remake of Planet of the Apes as well. He plays the villain.
Yes, that's right. I forgot about that.
Theod, yeah.
And Steve Buscemi would get this role, and then he'd get Fargo, which would catapult Steve Buscemi. So, Michael Madsen's, Kill Bill and so forth and so forth. So, everyone in this film, Chris Penn, sadly died of an overdose. So, we never got to see more of him. But but the same thing we talked about Keitel had a rebirth kind of with this film. So did Travolta.
Yes, with Pulp Fiction.
In Pulp Fiction.
Absolutely.
You had all these great characters that were in TV shows that he put in The Hateful Eight. Matt Houston, I remember that he was in it. Even though he never went away. Kurt Russell was in that. So it kind of re-emerged him a bit. Jennifer Jason Leigh.
Yes, also in Jackie Brown, Robert Forster, Pam Grier.
Yep. Michael Keaton, who he said kind of disappeared for a little bit there, is in that. And there's a different role for him. So Tarantino just, A, knows how to cast, and B, he definitely puts, if you want your career back on track, get your ass into a Tarantino film.
Yeah, he'll do it for you.
Christoph
Waltz, he completely launched a career in the sort of English-speaking world of Christoph Waltz.
Yeah, he in his 50s too.
Yep.
He was a late bloomer.
Yeah. Certainly within the Western sort of English-speaking cinema anyway.
Now, the film is famous for its soundtrack, and it's got some, Hooked on a Feeling, all these great songs that are very catchy and fun. But what does hurt this film is the DJing. Stephen Wright, who I like as a comedian, I really enjoy his stuff, but it offers nothing to the film.
I quite like it, and he does speak in that sort of monotone voice that sort of old school DJs, radio presenters would have talked in. So it works as a sort of quirk. I don't think it hurts the film. I actually quite like it.
Well, we talked about how Tarantino's music always kind of played as background to the story. It almost helped narrate the story. This music didn't. This is kind of his first outing where the music played nothing. It was catchy and fun, but it really had nothing to do
more
with
of a quirk.
It was kind of the planting the seed of what's to come.
This is K-Billy Super Sounds of the 70s. Keep on trucking.
Stephen Wright performs like that. He's a comedian.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And he performs his stuff like that. He's so fucking funny.
Yeah.
God, the guy's got some great material. If you guys ever want to have a good laugh, listen to Stephen Wright.
I'll have to check him out. As a comedian.
He just says the same monotone. He's just like, I spilt spot remover on my dog. Now I can't find him.
Yeah. I like that sort of deadpan type of humor.
He'd be like, I met my girlfriend at Macy's. She was shopping and I was putting Slinkies on the escalators. What? Stuff like that. Right back to the film. We're quickly introduced to the entire team with the whole Madonna and the whole tipping scenario.
Yes.
The best conversation, even with the Madonna thing, is the tipping scenario.
Yes, brilliant.
I thought that was the best conversation in the whole film.
Steve Buscemi.
And Steve Buscemi was completely wrong. And Harvey Keitel pretty much gave him the one-uppings.
Oh, he was a tight arse.
And,
he was just being a tight arse.
Yeah, $1. and then Calvert, Joe Calvert, the thing.
Yeah.
Pretty much told him, you fucking do it. You put the
Give me
money
$1, you cheap bastard. I paid for your breakfast.
There's a great line where Mr. White, well, you know what, we're not going to call them by the names. I'll get confused. We'll just call them by the actors' names. Where Keitel, it was Michael Madsen. Michael Madsen says something to him. He pretends to shoot him.
Yeah.
And Harvey Keitel makes the comment, if you shoot me in a dream, you better wake up and apologize.
That's exactly it. Yep. Yeah.
Fucking great line. That's the kind of stuff that's in this film.
Yeah. Brilliant dialogue. Absolutely. And they talk like real sort of, fucking bastard sort of armed robbers would talk, criminals would talk, I think, personally, rewatching it again, for me, who actually steals the show is Chris Penn as Nice Guy Eddie.
Yeah, I was going to say that, because Chris Penn, well, they all add something.
Now,
the best performance to me
Tarantino
is
Tarantino weren't great on it,
Oh yeah, that's why they're killed off right away. But I would agree with that. Chris Penn he kind of stole it, but the best acting, the best character is going to be Mr. White, Harvey Keitel.
Yeah, he has him and Orange have the best arc, and the film is essentially about their relationship. So it is in, how Orange has portrayed him, but they still sort of feels a certain loyalty to him. But for me, the best acting and my favourite characters would be Chris Penn's Nice Guy Eddie and Mr. Pink, played by Steve Buscemi.
Yeah, I love when they get in the fight with the names. That was so hilarious.
Quentin Tarantino goes, Mr. Brown, that's a little too close to Mr. Shit.
Mr. Pink. Mr. Purple. That's cool. Someone else has already got Mr. Purple another job. You're Mr. Pink.
That's right.
Come on, just take the name. Oh, you got Mr. White. You got a cool sounding name.
Yeah. Want to trade? It goes, want to trade in.
And the funny thing is, we would be having this conversation if this was us.
Oh yeah, it's a realistic conversation. Yeah, yeah. I don't want to be
So
Mr. Pink. Yeah.
So when we're introduced to everybody, it's about 10 minutes into the film, and then it cuts right away to just chaos.
The aftermath of the heist.
Yeah. Now I don't know. They obviously use blanks, obviously, but the sound effects on the guns sounded so real.
Yes.
Sometimes you get a Hollywood film, it kind of just.
Yeah, it's basically toy guns, basically.
Yeah, but there's something about the way they use these, because it's the rawness of the film.
It's the way they shoot them. I don't mean shoot the film, shoot the actual guns. It's just so, it's brutal. Especially the scene later on where Harvey Keitel, Mr. White, shoots the two cops in the car. With
Yeah.
they just unloads on them.
Yeah.
It's brutal. In fact,
Yeah.
all of the scenes where they unload guns, maybe it's the type of gun as well. I don't know. I'm not a sort of up to scratch in brands of guns because I'm not American. But it's just very effectively done and very realistically done.
It's funny you bring up Keitel killing the two cops. Everyone besides Buscemi, he wounds one, kills a cop.
Yes.
Or an innocent person of some sort. Buscemi's the one who gets away at the end.
Yes.
What's that?
Yes. He's the only one who survives. Although his ultimate fate is sort of, there's ambiguity there, but he's the only one that's not involved in the Mexican standoff at the end and stuff.
We'll talk about that because I'm confused at that Mexican standoff.
I had to watch it very closely just to get things clear in my head. There's a
I had
couple
to
of
pause
things.
it, rewind it. Who shot who here? I'll tell you. We'll get into it. Now, the whole film is, as we know, Tim Roth, Harvey Keitel, Buscemi, they meet, and Buscemi says right away, "We were set up.
Yes.
The cops were there way too fast." And Mr. Blonde, Michael Madsen, went ape shit. The cops were already at the door.
Yes.
And so there's no way, because this is how great the dialogue is, because obviously Tarantino did his research. He says when you hit an alarm in a bank and he breaks down how long it actually takes the cops to get there. Mm-hmm. They were outside that door
in seconds.
Which is nice. And then I kind of wish they didn't reveal right away that Tim Roth was the cop.
Well, yeah, it's about halfway through.
It's about, maybe a little less, because I thought it'd be kind of fun to play on that a bit. Let the audience, what's going on here.
I think it works.
Yeah, it still works. Don't get me wrong; it's a wonderful film, but I would like a little more mystery there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I must admit, the first time I watched it, it was a big shock and surprise for me, and it was sort of. I mean, obviously, it has to be one of them, but it was it's just the way it's done and the way it's revealed is brilliant. Just as Mr. Blonde's about to basically kill the cop after torturing him, but he's about to set him on fire, burn him alive.
And what also works for the film, we talked. We didn't talk about it, but I thought about it. I'm going apples to oranges here. Man of Steel.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Man of Steel got it right. And what I mean by Man of Steel, obviously Superman.
Yes.
The Zack Snyder one.
Yes.
We're all getting tired of the origin stories. Mm-hmm. Oh, here we go. I got to sit through this. Well, yeah, he still told the origin story, but he peppered it in through the film.
Yes.
Kind of had like a retelling or flashbacks during all the chaos, or before the chaos actually starts. They do this here too. And I like that because you have all the chaos, all the muddle, all the confusion, who's done what's going on here. But they always cut away to how Joe and Eddie got Blonde out of prison.
Yes, basically how they hired them all and got them involved in the job.
All done through the flashbacks during the and I like that. Sometimes you'll have a film kind of drag out the beginning by giving us all this now, rather than kind of peppering it in.
Well, it's also become a bit of a staple for Tarantino films where they're non-linear.
Oh yeah, they all come full circle at the end.
Yes, yeah.
Pulp Fiction is famous for it, of course.
Yes,
and Jackie Brown, an underrated Tarantino film, by the way.
I think it's one of his best, if not the best.
What is his best film?
There's so many to choose from. For me, it would maybe be I think its best ones are his more sort of character-based ones. I know this is actually one of them, but possibly Inglourious Bastards, very possibly Jackie Brown, maybe The Hateful Eight.
They're all good.
Yeah, exactly. And
The only one I wouldn't put rank. I wasn't a big fan of Death Proof.
Yes, I would agree there.
Even though it's got my boy in it, Kurt Russell,
I would agree
that
with
movie was way too long.
I would also say as well that The Hateful Eight is in part a remake of Reservoir Dogs.
Yeah, I got more 10 Little Indians out of it. Meets Reservoir Dogs. But I think Hateful Eight is an underrated film.
Oh, it's brilliant. So it is.
I love Hateful Eight. I love the Hateful Eight.
Brilliant film.
It pulls no punches, especially with women.
Oh,
Which
it's
is nice.
It's bonkers. It's almost like a pulp horror film, a pulp horror western. It's so the intensity of the violence and and again, like Reservoir Dogs, it plays as a stage play as well in many ways.
Yeah, there's one location really.
Yes,
which has a couple flashbacks.
Yes.
So I also like the scene where Buscemi tells Keitel, "Okay, I hear you," because it sounds like Buscemi's being reasonable. He's like, "Okay, let's bring Tim Roth to the hospital.
Yeah,
let's just drop him off. If he's okay with that, we'll do that." But then Ivor Keitel tells him, "He knows your name. Why? Well, he asked me in the car. He's bleeding to death. I didn't know what to say. I told him my name. Do you know? And so Buscemi breaks it down where you told him your name, you told him where you're from. You can't bring him to the hospital now."
Buscemi is the smartest character in this film by a long shot.
Exactly, because he's the one there's a rat because of the bank alarm and the timing it went off, and he broke down. Once you told him his name and your location, you just
He says they'll have a sheet on you. It's not going to take them very long to work out who you are.
Yeah, so and then, we have to wait now to get him help because you fucked up. Again,
I love Mr. Pink. He's the sort of he's the real brains. He's an individual. He's a logical thinker. He's he's a selfish, tight-arsed arsehole at the same time, and a bit of a scumbag. He's a wee runt, but he's just a brilliant character.
Now, the famous scene where Keitel and Buscemi have to leave.
Yes.
And they leave Mr. Blonde alone with the cop. They cut his ear off. I just thought a little too much.
But it cuts away from it. You don't, pun intended.
I know. I don't know. It
is nasty.
It's Tarantino because Tarantino will go all out, and so I can't judge him for it. But the outcome of the scenes is really good.
Yeah,
because
it's the payoff.
It's because you almost had to have it.
Yes,
because when he gets it, that's where Tim Roth's the cop.
Yes, but plus he felt there's also that catharsis for the audience where, and for the audience who are basically squirming at this torture of the cop, and they're saying, "What, this guy's an evil psychopathic bastard." You know what I mean? And also for Michael Madsen's character, there was all this talk before by Keitel and Buscemi about this guy's a psycho and stuff. Well, this scene proves it. And so it 100% works. Wes Craven apparently walked out of a screening of this. And Tarantino said that, I can't believe the director of Last House on the Left basically walked out of Reservoir Dogs. And apparently Wes Craven then defended himself and says, well, Last House on the Left was about, the horrors of violence and how violence begets violence. Whereas Reservoir Dogs was just basically, he said that it was just words to the effect of it was gratuitous. I don't think it is gratuitous.
I don't think it's gratuitous. I think he does it. I think what bothers people the most, it was a cop.
Yes. Apparently, it really bothered Michael Madsen as well, filming the scene.
Yeah, and so I remember watching it and going, "Oh my god, this is intense." I watch it now. I'm like, "Oh man."
I tell you.
I go. This could have been pulled back a little bit. I don't know.
No, it works, and it is completely, and it makes complete sense in the overall story and also the character arcs. I remember whenever I had this, I owned this in video. Eventually, went out and bought it in video back when you could buy videos quite cheap. But I remember watching it up at my parents' house. My sisters were quite young at the time, and I was watching it around tea time, but I watched it in the sort of, in the living room on the TV and video there. And I remember my dad coming in from work just as this scene was happening, and I remember my dad saying, and my dad likes gangster films and all that there, and I remember him like shooting at me and saying, turn that off. That isn't family entertainment, because and he's right in a way, but but yes, but in the context of this film and the characters, it is necessary and it works. But plus you don't see the year. You see the aftermath of the year coming off.
Oh yeah, it's like I said, he does it well, but I think pouring the gasoline on him would have been enough.
In the hands of a lesser director, it would have been.
I don't use the term lesser director. That's not. I mean, I don't know.
All right. In the hands of a different director, it could have
a more PC director.
It could have come across. Maybe because it's a less PC director. Maybe in the hands of a lesser director, they would have went for full shock and gratuity, especially back in the
Eli
90s.
Roth.
Yeah, like Eli Roth. Yeah, there you go. Perfect example. Somebody like Eli Roth, they'd have been cutting his Achilles tendons, and you know what I mean. It'd have been just complete, gratuitous drivel. But Tarantino, who knows what he's doing, all around in terms of writing and directing, and characterization and stuff, there he pulls it off.
One of the funnest scenes in the film is where Tim Roth is talking to his boss Holiday.
Yeah.
And Holiday gives him a script.
Yes.
And he tells him, this is your character, this is the story, this is your antidote. You got to memorize it. So each scene, you see him memorizing it, rehearsing it, but each scene gets closer. First he does it in front of Holiday, then we cut to him telling it in front of the gang to get recruited to do this job.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
He keeps telling it in different scenarios, and it's so fun.
And you see it happening inside his head. You see
Yeah,
him actually in the commode story, and you see him with the dog barking at him, and the cops in the toilet. Brilliant.
And the cops have no clue.
Yeah.
Now, when he shoots Michael Madsen before he's going to put the cop Nash on fire,
yes.
Nash says, "I met you before I knew you were a cop."
Yes.
Did we ever see him in a flashback again? Or
No.
He just told me we knew him.
His real name's he goes, yeah, I know you're a cop, Freddie Newendike. We were introduced one time, but no, you never see him in any of the flashbacks.
I'm just making sure.
Yep.
So when this is what you're kind of talking about with Chris Penn's performance,
brilliant.
When he comes in with Joe, and everyone else.
Yes.
And at this point, Buscemi's hiding.
Yeah, that's right.
So he goes off on him. You're saying a man who did 4 years in prison for us could have easily narked on all of us, could have walked away free. You're saying he's the mole. He's betrayed us. Mm-hmm. And you can see the look on Tim Roth's face.
He's been caught.
Tim Roth's face going, oh, shit. Good point.
Penn is brilliant in this scene.
Yeah, so here's my question.
Mm-hmm.
You got Joe, Thing.
Yes.
And Eddie pointing the gun. You got Joe pointing the gun at Tim Roth.
Mm-hmm.
You got Harvey Keitel pointing the gun at Joe. And you've got Eddie pointing the gun at Keitel.
Yes.
So he goes, get that gun out of my father's face, blah, 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 stop pointing the gun at my father. So I rewound this, and I can't catch it.
I think
Who shoots Eddie?
Mr. White, Harvey Keitel. I think...
because he shoots Joe.
Yes.
Unless he turns after... I think so Joe ends up shooting Ralph again.
Yes.
He gets shot twice. Then Keitel shots Joe. We see that.
Yes.
I think what happened is Eddie shot Joe, and in reflex response, Joe turned and shot him.
No. Well, that might be true.
Keitel. Eddie shot Keitel, but the reflex of the shot hit Keitel. Keitel moved and shot Eddie.
That's pretty much my take on it. Is that Joe shoots Orange, then Keitel shoots Joe. Eddie then shoots Keitel, Mr. White. And then as Mr. White's falling down, he shoots Eddie.
Okay, that's why I rewound it. It looks like it's a reflex shot.
Yes.
So when Eddie shoots him, his arm jerks around and gets a shot in.
But there's something that's bothered me even more for years about this film, which happens before that. Mr. Brown's death.
Well, you don't really see him die.
Apparently, looking into it, reading up on it, apparently Mr. Brown is shot as he's before. We don't see him getting shot on camera, on the screen. He's then already shot whenever he drives around that corner, but he's just dying and crashes the car.
Oh, okay. I thought they looked like a head wound, like it was a traumatic head wound. But how would he die from that?
It's weirdly realised, but it appears he was shot possibly by the two cops that get it, by Harvey Keitel, like moments later. But it always bothered me. It's a weird fucking
because
scene.
all he did was bang his head.
Yeah, and for years I wondered, like, because back then you didn't have sort of internet at your fingertips and stuff. I always wondered, well, it sort of bothered me, and I was always like trying to work out, did he die because he banged his head after crashing the car, or was he shot? Because there is dialogue where he goes, "Fucking son of a bitch shot me," in Quentin Tarantino's sort of nerdy voice, and then Mr. Orange goes, "You're not dying, you're going to be okay, or you're not shot or something," and it's just a weirdly realized scene.
Yeah, I thought about it myself when I first saw it. I kind of let it go, but even watching it again, I was like, he just banged his head.
Yeah,
he could still be alive. He could be in the sequel.
but apparently he was shot before the car comes around the corner.
Okay, I'm surprised Tarantino was a pretty detailed guy. He would have caught 1 line fix, maybe. All right, so Keitel goes to Roth, who now they're both shot. Keitel's still alive though.
Yes,
kind of just wounded. Roth's still alive, technically, barely. Yes. Jesus, way too much blood, I think. This isn't the Evil Dead here, guys. But he confesses to him before the cops are starting to break into the warehouse, and he confesses to him, "I'm a cop."
Yeah.
Oh, why did he do that? I wish he didn't do that.
Nope.
Now, when I originally saw this, you never know if he shot him or not, but you hear him shoot him.
Oh yeah. Oh, he definitely
cuts
does.
Away, you hear his gun go off, and then the cops shoot him.
Yes.
So he does kill Tim Roth.
Yes.
I'm sorry, man. We talk about Buscemi, and Buscemi was really good in this, and so was Chris Penn and all. But I tell you what, man, I'm still going with Keitel. Keitel's performance in that scene is brilliant.
It was almost, but I think it was a case of you sort of, maybe even in retrospect, you expect it from Keitel, because he's the main guy holding the film together. Especially with him and Mr. Orange's relationship, with Tim Roth. Yeah. But yeah, there was definitely other standouts like Buscemi, Chris Penn, even Michael Madsen. Although Michael Madsen's just, I don't actually very rate Michael Madsen much as an actor.
No, he's not a good actor. No, I mean, he plays a bully.
Yeah. But definitely for the acting chops for me on this rewatch for the podcast, Penn, especially that scene you're talking about there, where he comes in. Are you telling me this man, who's been fucking loyal to us, you telling me he's going to fucking rat on us? He goes, well, now why don't you tell me what really fucking happened? It's a brilliantly played scene, Bam.
Yeah, I mean, I think you and I are both on the same page with the Reservoir Dogs. I'll just copy and paste what you're about to say.
Yeah.
It's well written, well acted, well paced. The cutting of the flashbacks is perfectly implemented. They've got likable bad guys we should be spitting on.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kudos across the board.
Yeah.
I didn't like the radio DJ. I thought that was kind of silly. Didn't make any sense. It didn't really add anything to the story.
Well, can I just say
most of his soundtracks do.
Who switches the radio off after Mr. Blunt gets shot? Nobody does. It should have been still playing.
What?
Whenever Mr. Blunt gets shot by Mr. Orange, after he's doing the whole dance and the torture stuff, with Stuck in the Middle with You, nobody actually switches the radio off. So technically, well, not even technically, it should still be on the radio. It's an error.
Didn't he knock it down when he got shot?
No, sure, he was in a different part of the room. So he was. It is an error.
No, I didn't catch it.
Not unless just by that,
you just ruined Reservoir Dogs.
Not unless at that exact moment that he was shot, the radio batteries run out.
That's what happened.
Yeah, there you go. Perfect fix. There you go. I would like to say as well, it's also apparently, well, not apparently, but Tarantino's admitted it, heavily inspired by a Chinese film called City on Fire.
Okay.
There you go.
There you are. Well, Tarantino's stuff comes from somewhere.
Oh, it always does. Yeah.
He knows that.
Yeah. And he's open about it.
yeah, so I mean, this goes without saying. No one's going to come in. We're not going to review this film and hate it. There's nothing really to hate besides some minor grubs. Mr. Brown's supposed death and the DJ. That's pretty much it. Very minor. Actually, we were talking about this before the podcast. Just literally before this podcast, we're so into our little gritty gangster kind of hoodlum violence that we want. We're gonna pepper in Assault on Precinct 13.
Yeah.
John Carpenter's classic.
Brilliant.
And kind of stick on the groove of like True Romance, Reservoir Dogs. Would be a nice send off to do one of the originals, Assault on Precinct 13.
Yeah.
Inspired by Howard Hawks.
Yes, that's right. Rio Bravo.
Yeah. John Carpenter's idol.
Mm-hmm.
So, there you go.
Sorry, I would just like to add one sort of extra note. As much as I love Tarantino as a writer and director, I think he's one of the greatest. A true star at writing and directing. By fuck, he cannot act.
Oh yeah, it's true. But you know what? In Pulp Fiction, he's quite funny.
He's hilarious in Pulp Fiction. It's Jimmy.
But I think he knows he can't. I think that's what makes it fun. Because he's winking at us when he's doing it.
His Australian accent and Django Unchained is unreal.
Oh, that was horrible. That was bad. But again, I think it's deliberate.
Yeah.
He has a tendency to put. We just talked about it. He puts humor during that could be very awkward scenes.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So there you go. Listen, guys. Thanks for giving us a listen. You can always follow us on CitizenFrame_podcast and, of course, on Facebook. And, yes, the website is still in development. It's been in development for years. but we're getting there. We're getting there. All I have to do is hit publish. But I don't think we're ready for that yet.
There'll be a grand opening at some point soon.
Exactly.
With all the fanfare.
Exactly. The new issue of Phantasmagoria is coming out real soon. What, end of the month?
End of February, yes. Sorry. It'll be the start of March.
Beginning of March, yeah. I keep forgetting there's only 28 days.
Yeah, it's a short month. Yeah.
There you go. So check that out. We'll obviously talk more about it as it gets released.
Yes.
And we're going to wrap this one up. We'll see you next time with Assault on Precinct 13. And then get ready because the new Scream's coming out.
Ooh.
It's the longest of the Screams, and the early reviewers are saying, wow. So, really looking forward to it. But I'm not going to watch any more trailers. I'm not going to read anything more about it. I'm just going to go. And hopefully not be disappointed. But if it's a piece of shit,
you will be disappointed.
Trevor would probably like it because he loves piece of shit. And the reason I say that because I just got done listening to one of our podcasts, the Stop of My Mom Will Shoot, and he thought it was a masterpiece. So
one of the greatest films ever made.
Yeah, that and Return to Salem's Lot.
Yeah, brilliant, genius they are.
All right, guys, thanks for joining us, and
throw in a buck. I don't tip.
You don't tip?
No, I don't believe in it.
You don't believe in tipping?
You know what these chicks make? They make shit.
Don't give me that. She don't make enough money. She can quit.
I don't even know a fucking Jew would have the balls to say that. Now, let me just get this straight. You don't ever tip, huh?
I don't tip because society says I have to. All right, I'll tip if somebody really deserves a tip. If they really put forth the effort, I'll give them something extra. But, this tipping automatically, it's for the birds. As far as I'm concerned, they're just doing their job.
Hey, this girl was nice.
She was okay. She wasn't anything special.
What's special? Take you in the back and suck your dick?
I'd go over 12% for that.